If you're swimming in credit card debt, the last thing you might want to hear this morning is your minimum payment is going up. Well, hate to be the bearer of what seems like bad news, because it is. And truth be told, it is a good thing, as our next guest told me a few days ago. Scott Bilker's latest book is called Talk Your Way Out of Credit Card Debt. Thanks for being with us, Scott. We would be indebted to you if you could explain to us the new minimum payment formula in layman's terms.
Sure. Well, it used to be that the banks would calculate the minimum payment based on a flat percentage of how much you owe. But now what's happening is there's been some regulation guidelines set from the Office of the Comptroller of Currency to increase that payment so that way people are out of debt more quickly, and also to make it so people aren't paying as much in interest.
Oh, so this is a government mandate then? This is not something they're doing necessarily voluntarily?
They're certainly not doing it voluntarily, but it's not really a mandate. It's guidance issued, so they have really an option to do it. But everyone's really doing it. The Office of the Comptroller of Currency oversees 2,500 national banks.
All right, so boiled down, the formula goes, the new formula will go like this. Explain it. Sure.
It's going to be about 1% of your outstanding balance plus the monthly finance charges. So in the case if you had, say, $2,000 at 15%, you'd pay 1% of the balance plus the APR monthly charge, which would be 1.25% or 2.25%. So it's not going to be as expensive as a lot of people may think. There's been some information out there saying that minimum payments are going to double, go to 4%, 5%. That isn't necessarily the case. All
right, so let's run through an example then and explain why this actually, could be kind of advantageous to people, because it could force them to pay back their debt a little quicker. Why don't you, let's run through it.
Sure. If you had $2,000, 15% using that example, with the 2% minimum monthly payment, it would take about 79 months to pay that back and cost $3,158. Now, with the new minimum payment, which in this particular case is 2.25%, it would take 66 payments to pay back and cost $29.38. So you'd save about $220.
Okay, so people really, if they're looking at the big picture here, shouldn't complain too much about it. It's not that much of a difference, but in the final analysis, it's going to actually save you quite a bit of money.
It will save you money, and what it's going to do is stop banks from having negative amortization occur on your account, where you just keep going into debt faster and faster. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people where they have a $500 credit limit, but yet now they owe $3,000 on their credit card. And that happens because if they have a late fee, it's added into the balance, and then the minimum payment is a calculation the old way, a percentage of that balance. Now it's going to be that 1% plus finance charges plus fees. So your late fee and the over limit fees are going to be included in that. So this way, when you make that minimum payment, you'll be back where you started and able to pay that debt down.
All right. This, truth be told, is a big profit center for the financial institutions. In a sense, they're cutting into their profits by doing this, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I mean, they really don't want to do it. They want to keep you into debt as long as possible. In fact, the lowest minimum payment I've ever seen on one of my personal accounts is when I did a balance transfer, about $17,945. And the minimum payment on that, $15.
Wow, that's something. They want you in debt forever.
Right.
Give us just a piece of takeaway advice for folks who feel like they have a little too much credit card debt, and as they figure out those numbers, makes them nervous.
Well, I'd say the biggest thing you want to do is you never want to be late, because when you're late, banks are going to raise your rate with what's known as default rates and penalty fees. And I've seen rates go as high as 30%. So you never want to be late. Even if you need to borrow money from one credit card to make sure you pay on time, it's smarter than being late and being charged a whole bunch of interest payments.
Scott Bilker is an expert on debt and, more importantly, staying out of it. His latest book is Talk Your Way Out of Credit Card Debt. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Miles.
Well, Howard Stern's